think I see that everyone is here. Bishop Davis, Vice Chair Salvino. I don't see Vice Chair Salvino. So I just can't see.
We were at a meeting together last night, and he had said that he had a doctor's appointment today. He might not be able to show up, or he might not be able to be here in the beginning of it. So.
Okay, well, I guess we'll get started. I haven't heard anything from him, and we'll just play it by ear. Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the Dayton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Board Workshop. Today is February the 25th, and it's 10:01 a.m. Call the roll, please.
Chair James.
Here.
Vice Chair, Salvino, never mind. Board Member Davis. Hello, I see you.
I have my headphones on. I'm here.
Okay, very good. Board Member Llewellyn.
Here.
Board Member Rodman.
All right.
Here.
CRA Director Chen.
Here.
Thank you. City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Okay, great. Mr. Chen, would you like to take it from here?
Thank you very much. Chair James and our CRA board, thank you so much for allocating your time for this somewhat unusual time schedule. During the middle of the day, the objective was try to create a time frame that would allow some of our public and interested stakeholders to join and participate in this exercise today. Meanwhile, I can tell you that our facilitator has just logged on. He was having some trouble logging into our meeting, so now he is able to join us. That's good. Basically, what we're here for is to discuss an update on the mission statement, the vision statement, and the statement of values for the CRA. The CRA to date has just a mission statement that is at least 6 or 7 years old and is not really a good reflection of what we're trying to accomplish. And it's not really a good tool to help guide our purpose for being on a daily basis. And that is what we're looking for with a mission statement. So we're looking to update this to be more relevant to our objectives and our activities today. We will also be discussing a vision statement, which is our broad outlook statement for the future. And then we want to restate and update our statement of values. In other words, by what principles do we want to operate? So with that, we've gotten a start. Your information includes a draft of the vision statement, the mission statement, and statement of values that has been developed so far, and it serves as a base for you to begin your discussions and critique. With that, I'd like to reintroduce you to Michael Anderson, who you met during a CRA meeting about a month ago. He has been our consultant, and he is a superb facilitator that has moved us along in an expeditious way. With that, Michael, can you unmute and kind of lead us from here?
Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here with you again. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, members of the public that are participating. And I think our goal today is really to talk a little bit about the process that we went through to create the mission, vision, and value statements for the Dayton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. And with that, and then actually go and look at the work product and what we came up with, and then further see if we can elicit some input and feedback from those participating in the meeting. So I'm hopeful that everyone has a copy of the information. If not, I can share my screen. I'm not sure if Michael, what do you think is best at this point?
I think that you should share your screen because there may be people from the public who will need to see this as well.
Okay. And go ahead then and do that. Just a second here. Okay, so there we go. So what I'd like to do is just, again, as I mentioned, talk a little bit about the process and why would this be important. So as we said in the last meeting, for the Dania Beach CRA, it's very important as they start out on the process to create their CRA plan for the organization to have written statements, and specifically with regard to the mission statement, what we're looking for is a clear and concise and succinct statement of who we are and where we want to go. And the vision statement is the reflection of what it will look like when we get there. And then obviously the values that we're going to be going over are the values that the organization, how will we conduct ourselves? What are the parameters of behavior or how we will conduct ourselves to achieve our mission? And so the process, we did it over a couple of days. That's okay. And we did over a couple of days, and the process involved largely working with the team, explaining to them what the mission, vision, and values, what the objectives were in this exercise, working with them through some brainstorming exercises that I thought were very participative. And all the credit in the world goes out to Michael and his team for the level of engagement. Everyone was really engaged, really committed. And I was really pleased with the participation, the way that the members of the CRA team communicated their subject matter expertise that helped this process along. A lot of times when these types of, I'm involved in these types of engagements, people want to, give credit to the facilitator, and it's really not that. And I say it over until I get blue in the face, but people don't really understand. It's coming from the subject matter experts who are participating in the meeting. So we literally, with regard to the process that we went through, we introduced ourselves to each other. We gave working definitions of the specific areas that we talked about, and then we just went to it and started working on a mission, vision, and values. The mission statement that we came up with, move this over here. This is basically what we came up with. And the process, again, involved brainstorming. There's a first round. It was, to give you an idea, everyone, we set a parameter in terms of how we would communicate, that everyone would have the opportunity to communicate freely. There were no wrong or right statements or answers. And we wanted to conduct the process in a way that we respected and the contributions of all the members of the team. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm always, really impressed with how the organic process that we go through and what we end up with at the end. And I remember in this case when we were working on this, everyone was so focused on producing the best mission statement we possibly could produce that when we got there, we were still working on it. We were still trying to come up with a better statement. We were still refining all of the different lines and every word, the punctuation, everything was being really gone through with a fine-tooth comb and back again. And at a certain point, I kind of realized that, hey, I think we have it here. And we stepped away from it and came back. And I'll just read it out loud in case anyone's just is listening. So the mission statement of the Dania Beach CRA, the proposed mission statement, is to provide the expertise and resources needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, and improve the quality of life for our diverse stakeholders. And that, to me, if you let that settle for a little while, that is a very powerful statement. It's a very powerful statement. And I know that the subject matter expertise that we had on that call was significant. And the way that we reviewed that and went through it, I think it's a very, very strong representation of what the CRA needs to set out to do. What this statement is not, it doesn't specifically define the activities or the specific things that the CRA will be doing. It's more of an overarching statement of the mission of the organization. And my goal today is to present this to you and hopefully elicit some comments, some responses, some input, some feedback that we might use, possibly to make sure that we haven't missed anything, to make sure that we are in line with the expectations of the various stakeholders of the organization, and that we're on the right track here. So that's our mission statement. At this point, are there any comments, or is there anyone that would like to comment on the statement, or what they think of it, or how it reflects or resounds with yourself?
I don't see any hands being raised. Anyone have comments? You can feel free to speak. I think I like the go ahead, Board Member Davis.
Well, I just want to say I think it's a phenomenal job. I think it's very well thought out, and it looks like it covers all of the components of the CRA function as I understand it. So I think you've covered all the bases. It's very clear and succinct. So I just want to commend you on, I can tell that it wasn't something that you just threw and put together, but it's something that when you go through a process, you do have to put it down, draft it out, come back and process it, go back and look at it again. And I think the final statement reflects the process that you've gone through. And I think I approve of it. So I'm good with it. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ensure that we don't run into some of the same roadblocks that we kind of ran into in the past. I want to make sure that even with this language that it allows for things like property acquisition. I know that it says expand opportunities for businesses and foster revitalization, but property acquisition and those types of things, would that be included in this mission? And also sort of what we have gone through this past with the COVID relief funds, making sure that being able to administer and give those funds out will be captured in this vision as well. Is that under financial security? I just want to be very clear in what it includes, so we don't run into those roadblocks and have to, either change our CRA plan or our mission, or it wasn't really captured. I don't want to go through the same thing again.
Yes, Michael, go ahead if you like.
Yeah, if I may try to give some background on the thought process to this that I think will answer your question. There's several dimensions of this statement that would cover the specific activities that you just mentioned. So for instance, property acquisition, there's an expertise involved. There's resources that need to be brought to bear if you're doing property acquisitions. What would be the purpose of the acquisition? Is it to stimulate private sector investment, or is it to stimulate or enhance financial security? Again, there are so many pieces of this draft statement that would cover the examples that you cited. And our thought process in developing this language was an attempt to do just that. Again, we did not try to actually describe activities, because that's not really the point of the mission statement, but rather to describe our basic current reason for existing and what we bring to the table to benefit and add value to the community. And so I think that those types of things are covered here. And as we go from here, somewhere along later in the year, there probably will be the exercise of redoing the CRA plan. That's where we have the opportunities to start describing and defining specific activities to get us toward the objectives stated in this mission statement.
Okay, thank you. I think, well, for the mission then, I think that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not sure about everyone else.
Yes, I just want to apologize. I used the wrong terminology when I introduced myself to the meeting. I was talking about commissioners, and obviously this is a CRA board, so I do apologize for that. But and thank you for not slapping me down for saying the wrong thing.
Oh, you're fine.
I also want to add to what Michael was saying by saying that yes, what you mentioned or what you stated, Chair, was a primary consideration, and we did discuss extensively during a portion of the meeting the fact that the CRA has the ability to engage in property acquisition activities. So that was very heavily considered in this in the development of this mission statement. And even if you look at the two of the lines in the statement where it talks about implementing inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, and then stimulating investment, I think that would be relevant there. And also, I mean, almost every line in the mission statement is related to it. If you're talking about fostering revitalization, if you're talking about the quality of life, so you can see where it is covered, and it's folded in terms of what we came up with, and I think it's a very, very important consideration. I'm glad that you raised that issue. Does anyone else have anything to say about the mission statement specifically?
I do.
Remember?
Yes. I think it's very comprehensive, and I think it is very inclusive, and I think it does include a lot of the things, majority of things that are needed in there. The only thing I feel like is missing is I feel like it needs to say something to the effect of that we are investing in the community, and investing in the in the people and the places and the overall area, the businesses, everything. And I feel like it's a little vague with that. That's the only thing that if I were to change anything, that would be the only thing I would do. I would add something that says something to the effect of
Investment. Okay, got it. Absolutely. That's great input. And I know that the language is pretty broad, and that's what the purpose of this meeting is, to get that kind of feedback. And Michael and I'll take it back to Michael, and I'm capturing this as well. So pardon my turning around sometimes because I'm writing on it.
No, absolutely. But I do think overall it's very comprehensive, and I think it does include, it does cover everything that's needed for the CRA. Otherwise.
Absolutely. And the word in there, stimulate investment, that particular piece of it, I think, is related to what you're saying. So we're definitely going to take a hard look at it and see how we can make sure that consideration is appropriately addressed, that your input is appropriately addressed. But yeah, I do agree with you. And the other thing I'd like to say, to the board, is that, obviously Michael, I've used the term before, he's like this rock star for community redevelopment and economic development and those types of things. But I do want to assure all of you that as we went through this process, it was a very inclusive process, and that it was not just, this is not Michael's words. This is what came out of that organic process that we had, and it included the heavy input from all of the members of the team. So I just want to assure you of that. If we don't have any other comments on the mission statement, and we're happy to receive any input that you have, we can then go on to the vision.
I might also say that as you see the three different components of this exercise discussed, you may see where there's interaction between the two that will stimulate thoughts of, this should be better tied to the mission statement, or maybe the mission statement should be better tied to the vision. Again, each of these statements stand alone, but they clearly are meant to interact together. And so as we go through, don't have any reservations about going back and saying, oh, I'd like to see how this interacts with another another piece of our exercise today. So with that, Michael, sorry for interrupting you.
No, not at all. All input and all feedback are very welcome. That's the purpose of this meeting. So we'll go to the vision statement. And again, the vision is normally much more succinct than the mission statement. It's literally one line. And what we came up with here is and this is the definition or the characterization on paper a statement of when we achieve our mission, what it will look like. So it says to be a sustainable city of the future with expanded economic opportunities for our stakeholders. So again, board member Lori, I can't see your last name there, but again, we're talking about the stakeholders now. And to Michael's point, there are different pieces that come together. So there's a referral to the investment in the in the mission statement, but here now we're talking specifically to the stakeholders. Any comments on the vision? Okay.
Well, can it say anything else about it's only speaking about stakeholders. It really isn't speaking about the people that are living within the CRA and the mission or the vision. So with the vision only to be able to be a sustainable city of the future for our stakeholders, I think we need to be more inclusive of the people that actually are living in that area.
So in HR speak, or in the speak of people doing these types of strategic processes, we would say that the people living within the CRA boundaries would be our primary stakeholders. But if we need to revisit this and make it more clear, that's something that's the type of input that we want and feedback.
Okay, I normally see stakeholders when you gather a meeting and you get the stakeholders, you get like the people who are investing as far as
Right.
like businesses, or you maybe get like a private pastor or like people with the voices. But I want to make sure that we are wanting to expand these opportunities for everyone, even the people who aren't really considered to be stakeholder worthy. But I mean, I'm okay with it as long as stakeholders are including every member of that community.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that, and we'll definitely talk about it and see if you're okay with this understanding of it. But we would, the primary stakeholder would be the residents and the people who live within the CRA. But I do understand where the typical use of the word would be like you're thinking of some fat cats or big wigs or people that are very high up in the process, and those are the people we're trying to please. In fact, the people that we're trying to please here, that we're all trying to please as public servants, are the people who are the citizens and the residents who live within the CRA boundaries in this case. So we can definitely take a look at it. I think it's also a very succinct and a very clean vision statement. And again, this is coming from the subject matter experts, but I can understand where maybe a layperson or somebody who is not familiar with all of this fancy government talk or whatever, could see this as something that is not having to do with them. So you're right. That's a very good catch, and we'll take it back. Michael?
Yeah, if I may, Chair James, we actually discussed exactly what your question was. And we chose to do language and vocabulary that was a bit more succinct. But I think you make a good point. And we do want to make sure that everybody recognizes that we meant to include them. So I think maybe rather than just Michael, instead of just to defer this for future discussion, while we have the opportunity, let's explore a little bit of alternative language with this.
Sure.
So instead of using stakeholders, maybe we could say expanded economic opportunities for current and future residents and businesses of our community. Would that be a more a more clear description of those we are trying to serve?
I think so. For me, yes.
We can easily make that change if everybody is okay with that. And again, part of we can continue with other areas that would deserve attention and change and discussion as well.
Can I make a suggestion? If you leave stakeholders in there, but just define it in the statement, say stakeholders including but not limited to, and then, or something to that effect, and then indicate residents, business, so forth.
Again, I think that's a good suggestion too. I guess for those of us in the business, we tend to think of stakeholders in terms of broad terms, but it doesn't necessarily apply to everybody's perspective of that word. So this is a very good catch on this, so that we can make sure that this is a better touch to everybody who will be served here.
Sorry, guys, you can see how bad my typing is.
I said you were a good facilitator, not a typist.
Yeah, you can't have it all, right? Did you say in our community, Michael, for the last piece?
Current and future residents and business in our community.
I can't remember if you said in our community or of our community. Would it be okay with the parens, or do we want to make it longer and just say, let's see if you saying.
I tell you what, instead of the parentheses, I probably overuse it. But how about after the stakeholders, you'd put a hyphen and extend the sentence via a hyphen.
Okay, that's good. Let's do that. So to be a sustainable city of the future with expanded economic opportunities for our stakeholders, hyphen current and future residents and businesses in our community.
Does that feel more comprehensive and a better description of who we're trying to serve here?
I think so, but I just think that if you're going to do it, then it needs to be mirrored in the vision, because now, or it depends on how you're going to organize it, because if you have it one place and not the other, I just think it needs to match, and so that people always know what you mean by stakeholders. I don't want to have, they're not supposed, the vision statement is supposed to be small, succinct in one sentence. You're not supposed to have a long, a whole bunch of verbiage. So, I mean, if you just define it, I don't know, if you define it one place, then, define it another, or just define stakeholders separately somewhere so that people understand who the stakeholders are. But I do want to be able to keep it short and succinct and not have too much verbiage, so it's clear. So
yeah, I don't think it flows.
Yeah, it doesn't flow anymore. But so what we can do then is let's take a look at what it might look like if we were to move this over to the mission statement, where there might be more of an opportunity to look at that. And as a matter of fact, let's see. So to provide the expertise and resources needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, improve the quality of life for our diverse. Let's see if we put it here. What
it would just be like easier if you just, instead of putting stakeholders, put the definition of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I could, maybe I can shorten this a little bit, Michael. Do we need current and future?
Well, and again, this was part of our discussion, because part of our objective, of course, is to serve our current residents and businesses, but we're also trying to grow our economy. So we're trying to attract new businesses in our community. We're trying to attract, a new workforce and new residents to our city. So the reason we went to the shorter word of stakeholders is to reflect that it wasn't just people who exist today.
Right. Absolutely. So what we have is to provide the expertise and resources needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, and improve the quality of life for our diverse current and future residents. I can take this out. Current and future residents and businesses in our community. So this may be a little bit long of a statement here, but let me just see.
I don't like it.
That's too long. I mean, I feel like if you just said diverse community, I think that should cover it. I mean, stakeholders are the community. They're part of the community. All aspects, whether it's residents or it's businesses or it's investors or whatever it may be, part of the community.
So let's see how that looks.
That sounds like a potentially good solution to that.
Okay, so to provide, go ahead,
The,
Michael.
it doesn't overuse the cliche of stakeholders.
That's a good point too. So to provide the expertise and resources needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, and should we say improves the quality of life for our diverse community?
No.
Leave it as improve?
I think improve without the S,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
Easy to provide.
All right.
Yeah, I think you're
You're just saying to provide, to do this, to do that, and to improve. If you were putting two in there, but you said and improve.
You know, and to improve.
Yeah, because if you put improves with the S, you have to put
Yeah,
provide.
the other one. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll just read it one last time. So to provide the expertise and resources needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, and I think to be consistent, I should take out the two because with the others we're not saying that. Right?
Correct.
So let's leave it how it was. My bad. Just make sure I'm not too many spaces in here. Let's go back a second. There we go. So that's where we are. And I think, yeah. And Board Member Lowell, does that kind of address your part too, where you talked about, and are you okay with the investment piece still, or how do you feel about it now that you looked at this and the vision statement?
It's Llewellyn, but that's okay.
Sorry.
A lot of people mess it up.
I can't win.
I understand what you're saying about stimulate investment. That's not what I was talking about. What I'm talking about is like if we're actually, when we do things in the community, it should be an investment into the community as opposed to where like we've had a problem in the past where we put a lot in and we don't get a lot out. So
Right.
you don't see a lot of results. So I'd like to see where we're actually investing into the community. That's the difference between. I know what you're saying with the stimulate investment. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd kind of like to. I just want to make sure that we're focusing on that as being one of our goals.
Should we take a look, Michael, now to see if we can address it here?
I think that this is a savvy observation and comment. And what I'm thinking is that maybe it's the opening of our statement that we're to provide the expertise and strategic investments needed to implement inclusive strategies. That reflects our investment in the community, but part of our objective is to stimulate outside investment in our community as well. So I would prefer not to tamper with the section about the fourth line down where we're talking about stimulating investment, because that's
right.
Outside investment.
Right.
But to open this as saying that to provide the expertise and strategic investment needed to implement inclusive strategies, does that reflect our investment in the community that you're looking for?
That's much better. I just want to make sure that it's we want to build on this,
right?
And we want to see results. The community wants to see results,
right.
And part of doing this is you have to invest in the community, but it needs to be more of an investment and not as much of a. I don't want to get hung up on the word resources and end up it being more of a like we're just simply going to provide things. Like you need to have goals. There needs to be an end result. There needs to be a deliverable.
So the way we changed the opening of this statement, does this kind of fit what you were trying to get to?
It's definitely, and I think you could say, expertise and strategic investment. Yeah, that fits better.
Now, since we've
or even partnerships.
Go ahead, Board Member Davis.
Even partnerships. I mean, something
about partnerships.
Yeah, but maybe that's partially included in the investment aspect of it. It's
We,
fine.
we can actually specifically include that instead of having basically a two activity statement. We could make this a three activity statement. So it's to provide the expertise, strategic investment, and partnership, partner collaborations needed to implement strategies. Is that get what you're looking for?
See it.
But wouldn't strategic investments mean that we are going out to seek those types of partnerships if we're trying to strategically invest in this community? Wouldn't it cover those options?
I think one of the challenges of developing a mission statement is where do you draw the line? So
Yeah.
when you're trying to create these overarching statements that will capture what you're doing, I think that as we get more specific with it, it gets more wordy, and then as it gets more wordy, we actually start to lose some of our.
I
And
our
I, I just
that's
think those two terms could kind of be. I mean, I just think
that's why
collaborations or partnerships could go into strategic investments if you're looking for a place, Mr. Chin, to like invest in the community strategically or to bring an investment to the community. You probably would collaborate. You probably would seek partnerships or P3s or whatever. I mean, it, I just don't. I don't want it to sound redundant with different ways of kind of saying like the same things. I think it could be included in the strategic investments.
and I agree, and that's why I said I need to see it, and I don't like it. So what maybe put back in instead of partner collaborations, instead of saying that, say and resources needed. So this way, it's a combination of factors as opposed to it covers everything. I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting the investment part of it. That's all.
And then the other thing too, just very quickly, since we've identified strategic investment, and we talk about stimulate investment further down, we may need to say down there, Michael, something more specific about that to differentiate.
Fine. I tell you what. Let's start with a little cleanup. So it's to provide the expertise, comma,
Thank you.
the word and.
How about instead of strategic investment, say collaborative investment?
I,
Can I chime in for a second? I've been super quiet.
yes. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Because the screen is shared, I can't see if you're physically raising your hand. So unless you're like using,
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I wasn't, but I just decided since I've just kind of been stepping back and listening to you all and watching the evolution of the statement. And you know, for me, I guess why I've been sort of quiet on this, I feel that at least in my involvement, I've done a lot in nonprofits. We always have to do these kinds of statements, little mission sentences, whatever. We always kept it very broad because it was understood that this was more meant for other people to sort of glance at and get a very general idea of what the CRA is and does if you had a baseline of not understanding what a CRA does, but that the guiding part of it of our partnerships and our investments and this and that all the meat and the juice and the things that really matter are all found in our plan. So I just getting all caught up in certain buzzwords. Did we make sure we put that we're inclusive? Are we it seems unnecessary as long as it captures broadly the feeling of what we're trying to convey about what our CRA is and does. So I don't know that you missed the mark on that. I think that it is successful, and you could probably spend another 30 minutes, and if you want to, that's fine. We can do that, but swapping out different words, and I don't know that it's going to make much of a difference, because I do think that Mr. Chen and Mr. Anderson captured that what in general the CRA is and is trying to accomplish. So That's my feeling on it, and I'm more, I guess, interested in making sure we nail it in the plan. So that's where the meat and potatoes are.
And I would um, generally agree with that statement. However, I think that in addition to that, though, the purpose of this meeting is to capture the feedback and input from our stakeholders, including members of the public who are here. It was not necessarily to come back and change the statement significantly, because what we're trying not to do is we're trying not to get away from the brevity of the statement, because as I said earlier, once we do that, then it's not as effective.
Well, I
So
agree with you, but I think you are getting away from the brevity of the statement, which is why I'm saying I'm not going to tell you which word or which comma I like more, because I don't think in this situation it matters. If I felt that you did not capture what the CRA overall mission is, then I would be speaking up. But do I care where you place the word in the comma? That's the grasshopper and the grass for me, and I'm out for that.
yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I thought the original statement did capture everything, but I do respect, obviously, the role and the responsibility carried by the board, and I do respect their participation and input, and that's. So I'm not saying that you're not correct, Ms. Oldman, and I'm not saying that Board Member Lewin or any other board members or the chair are not correct. So we're just, we're in the middle here. We're trying to make sure that we get what's best for the Dania Beach CRA. And I was very proud and very amazed, actually. Once we stopped working on it, we had to like just leave it alone and come back to it and look at it. And I thought it was very, very comprehensive and very, very succinct, very clear, and very well written. However, again, I do agree that it doesn't mean that there's only one way to do something.
One thing I wanted to bring up, and I just wanted to see if it's already in there, inclusive or not, or where you would fit this in. But I really believe that, to eliminate the slum and blight is part of is part of a major component of the CRA. And I'm not sure where that fits in there, but I think that whenever you do talk about that, people want to see tangible results. And so. Right. I'm not here to, like I said, I felt most of the components were there, but I don't see that where that fits in specifically. So I would want to, if you could tell me or where that fits in, then I'm good to go.
Michael, do you want to go or do you want me to do it?
Wait, can we fix the top first? Are we going to leave it like that first? I see the cursor right there. I just didn't know if we could do one thing and then get to what Board Member Davis is saying, so we don't have.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from you all how you'd like to approach where we are.
I would like to take resources out, or just say to provide the expertise and strategic investments needed. Maybe an S goes on investments, because those strategic investments are going to include resources, are going to include partnerships, are going to include different types of P3s and trainings or whatever strategic investments are. That is a broad term that is very inclusive to everything else that we could tag on to the end of it. I think it's more clean without resources. And just to note what Board Member Davis is saying, I think when you talk about what slum and blight is, when you are fostering revitalization and when you are improving the quality of life and stimulating investments, that would be eliminating the slum and blight. But if you wanted just that, I think that is kind of the definition of, you want to eliminate that and fill it with, these investments and revitalizations and improvements.
Okay, and so since we have kind of maybe I'll take responsibility here. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job of really clearly articulating the role of the mission statement in this process. Are we all okay with then maybe taking out some of this terminology so that we can kind of keep it concise? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we okay then with what we have here, or do we need to go back a little bit, or because what I do see, Michael, and I don't know if you disagree with me or any of the board members as well, is that we are saying here strategic investment, and down here we're saying stimulate investment. So it might sound redundant, even though it's not, because we know that this is something different. We're talking about outside financial investment here. Up here, we're talking about our investment in the community.
I just think investment, the first investment needs an S on it. I think it sounds.
Oh, investments?
I mean, I don't.
To provide the expertise
But
and
strategic investment would be one type of investment.
yeah, got you. So to provide the expertise and strategic investments, plural, needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate investment, foster revitalization, and improve the quality of life for our diverse community.
That's fine with me. But you need to take out that comma after expertise. Sorry, that's just a grammatical thing.
Let me do this because
Me too.
yeah, I'm not the, those things I have actually on here. Where is
You
it?
don't need to be the grammar police, but I was an English major.
Yeah, okay, so I'll take it out for now. And I do have Grammarly on here somewhere, but when I share the screen, I don't have access to everything. So
Yeah. If I may, to address board member Davis's comment, basically, I think Chair James said it as good as I could ever say it. That we're describing the result of eliminating slum and blight without using the word slum and blight. I will tell you, in my experience in dealing with either the creation of a CRA or in dealing with the CRA areas, one of the things these areas tend to resent is being called slum. So we actually chose the direction of describing an outcome rather than the specific condition.
Okay.
If that works for you, again, I think Chair James explained it very well. I couldn't improve on that.
do we need to say stimulate outside financial investment? I know we're at the risk of making it longer, Michael. I just want to, because I do see investment there twice, and I just want to make sure that we're not sounding or looking redundant.
I was going to suggest that, but I didn't want to make it longer.
No, I know, but we do want to make it.
Yeah.
The quality is important.
If I were going to add a qualification to that, I would add the word private investment.
Okay.
Because that reflects what we're trying to do. In fact, that's the whole objective of everything we try to do is stimulate other people investing here, so that
what
we don't.
about stimulating interest? That's kind of like the same as investment, so you wouldn't have investments twice. I don't know, some synonyms of the word investment. It doesn't matter if you have it twice. I'm just saying if you don't want it twice, that's enough. Stimulate interest.
I think you need to say outside investment or private investment. I think that serves the purpose.
Oh, I didn't even know that tool was there to give you synonyms right on the spot. Look at that.
Yeah, sometimes everything doesn't work when we're sharing the screen, but we do have asset speculation, venture, outlay, savings, deal, stock share. So venture, private venture, capitalism. I don't know. I'm not the right person. I'm not the better expert in the room here. It's above my pay grade.
I really think investment's the right word. I think it just needs to be qualified by saying outside or private investment.
Yeah, I like it with private investment. I think it looks great. So to provide the expertise in strategic investments needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, should stimulate private investment, foster revitalization, improve the quality of life for our diverse community. I really wish I had my Grammarly up here so I could just check on tense. I don't have it here. Let me do. I'm just going to do something really quickly.
Well, Michael's doing the stenography work. I've noticed, and I really appreciate the engagement. And what I feel excitement in this discussion, and our CRA team got engaged in this way. Every time we talked about a concept, everybody started stepping in and said, okay, does this word work? Is this vocabulary better? Are we including this very much in the way that you are? So I hope you're feeling the excitement that our team did to get here.
Well, I think you all did all of the hard work. We're just here to just say, the teacher that kind of redlines things out there. You've put all the efforts into your thing. So I think that the staff and the CRA and the community has done a great job with providing us with some type of guidance where we can just go in and maybe pick apart the final type of details. So I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm just trying to get back to,
Oh, share screen, Michael.
yeah, I'm just trying to get back to, here we go.
I think if you hit the minimize at the top right corner, I think you want to minimize that. That'll take you back to your share screen.
Yeah, it's,
Or maybe just hit the Ring Central app at the bottom. It may give you a.
let me just do this. Second,
That's
I'm gonna stop share for a second, and I think that will help.
Oh,
And then I can share again, and then I will. There we go, and I can pop this back up. Okay, sorry about that. And
so again, while Michael is contemplating the tools available for the discussion, with the engagement and discussion that we have going on, it would be a really great outcome if at the conclusion of our discussion today, we actually have these statements that feel comfortable to you. I would really like to take the work we do today and simply represent it to you at our upcoming CRA meeting so that we can conclude the exercise at that point. And what that gives me the opportunity to do, it gives me the opportunity to put these statements into our upcoming annual plan, excuse me, annual report, which I think is a great thing to kind of send a message to everybody that we're moving in aggressive and new directions. So if that works for you, I really like the way that we're making changes and explorations as we go into conversation, rather than defer changes to later.
I'm okay with that.
Fine with me.
okay, and then just quickly, so Grammarly, the only change Grammarly came up with, so we're grammatically correct. Thank you for the expertise on the panel here. But it did suggest that we change opportunities for business to business opportunities, but we don't always have to go with that. If it reads better this way, and we're okay with this, which I kind of like the way it reads, but it's your choice. We can leave it how it is. Is everyone okay with the current wording?
I like it.
Okay. I'm okay.
I'm
Okay,
good with
very, very good. So I'm gonna hit save right here. And so that's our mission statement. And then we're gonna go back to the vision. And it's, again, to be a sustainable city of the future with expanded economic opportunities for our stakeholders. And we've already defined stakeholders a couple of times above. And then next we have our values.
But wait a minute, Michael, before you move on, I would like to touch back with our members here to make sure that you are comfortable with where the vision statement is. Is there any either vocabulary or concept that you'd like to further explore in that statement?
Nothing that hasn't been said. So.
Move on.
Okay. Progress.
Okay, very good. So we can move on then. And then these are the values. So as I stated earlier, you know, the mission is about why we exist, what we exist to do, a clear and concise, a succinct statement of who we are and where we want to go. The vision statement, as we said, is what it's going to look like when we get there. And our values are, how do we get there? Under what parameters, under what rules are we going to, how are we going to conduct ourselves as we move forward to achieve our mission? And what we came up with here was we provide the best quality of service for our stakeholders. We conduct our business with the highest ethical standards. We commit to preserving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach. Our activities will contribute to the positive image of Dania Beach, and we embrace innovation. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board and to anyone else who would like to have some input. Do you feel that that's comprehensive enough? Do you feel that we're missing anything? How can we make it better?
Board, if I may put in here, I actually contributed that specific last bullet point, and I did so from a little bit of a quirky perspective. We embrace innovation. I thought of that in its absolute broadest terms because I see us trying to accommodate interests and passions of all types. In fact, if you think about it in its broader sense, anybody that puts a paintbrush to canvas is an innovator. Anybody who's playing a musical instrument and creating new riffs and so forth is an innovator, as is someone who comes up with the next formula for the world's best painkiller and antibiotic. So I thought of embrace innovation as being a very broad term that basically tells us we should respect people's new ideas in whatever form they come in.
I actually really like that. That we embrace innovation. I was going to say the only thing that I would do is say we embrace innovation and diversity, because that's something that, I mean, we're a very diverse city.
I was also looking to see, so when we look at this in the context of the CRA also within Dania Beach and the things that we have prioritized from our strategic plan in Dania Beach, and we have to make sure that they are in some ways compatible. So, something that was very important that we talked about for us in now and in the future is going to be environmental sustainability. I think that that's something you want to include here, because I would like to see that in all of the decisions that we make going forward. We said we were going to make that in all our decisions moving forward for the city. So to me, it seems like that's part of our values for when we're looking at housing, the materials that we're going to encourage being used, with the patch, the programs that we're going to be putting in place there. We talked about doing ways to grow food, things like that. So while it may seem kind of small and niche now, over the next 5 years, I think that that's something that's going to become more and more important, and I hope is part of our value system.
I really like that. In fact, we tried to get that concept in the vision statement. That's where we put in the vision statement that we will be a sustainable city of the future. But I think putting it here as well, Michael, I think the way I would talk about this is that we will encourage sustainable solutions. Remember, does that kind of reflect what you were getting at? Does that?
Yeah.
Again, with the intention of being broad, so that it actually gives us latitude to look at that and implement that value in a lot of different ways.
I think that's great. I also think the ad from Board Member Llewellyn, excuse me, on diversity was huge. I think it's it actually makes it better, and it makes it more complete. And so I do appreciate that. I also appreciate the one on sustainability, because we did discuss that as a part of the process, and I know we did get some of that into the vision statement. But you're right. In terms of this section is about how we will do it. So if we do, I think it's appropriate to have a statement, or to have one of the lines here reflect the sustainable aspect of how we will go about our business.
Do we have anything that's speaking about economics?
So let's see on the in terms of the values.
I don't think we do specifically in the value statement, but if we go back to the mission statement, one of the things we open with, the opening sentence, is that we provide the expertise, and that to me is what you're trying to get with the economics. You want savvy solutions, workable solutions, solutions based on expertise that are implementable. That actually is kind of the broad use of what I intended with the word expertise. Now, if that's not sufficient for you, in fact, again, the value statements, this is a very good place to put things about how you want the department to be structured. That would work very well there if you want to expand on that for as another value statement.
Can you say that piece, Michael, again, please? Because I think you cut out a little bit.
Okay, in terms of what I understood your comment to mean, that is what I intended in a broad sense in the use of the word provide the expertise in our mission statement. But if you would like to be more precise with that and emphasize a let's say an attachment to economics and expertise, that's very easy to put in as an additional bullet point under our
Right.
value.
Can you go back to the value statement so I can see?
Yes, absolutely. And I think just in general, for the team, for everyone here, we have more flexibility, I think, with the value statements in terms of how we
Yeah.
amend them, and it's not as critical as the mission and vision. Would be my view of it. So I'll read the ones we have currently. We don't want to get too many of these, though. I will say that. So we have normally it's 5 or 6 is kind of where we want to be, but what we currently have is we provide the best quality of service for our stakeholders. We conduct our business with the highest ethical standards, and this is about how we will get to our mission. We commit to preserving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach, and that was a very strongly shared sentiment on the CRA team, because I felt that Dania Beach was unique, and they wanted to have something in terms of our value statement somewhere in the process to communicate to our stakeholders, meaning the residents and citizens and everyone really, that what we have is unique, and we're committed to preserving that. And then the next one, our activities will contribute to the positive image of Dania Beach. We embrace innovation and diversity. We will encourage sustainable solutions, and now we're looking for something addressing economics. Yeah. Yes, Laura?
Can you, just to be consistent in that last bullet point, instead of saying we will encourage, how about just we encourage and take out the word will?
I would agree with that. Michael, you're good?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
We don't have to necessarily put anything about economics in there, just making conversation. I think that once we talk about our integrity, that is the highest ethical standards. I think we go with that. And when we talk about best quality of service, that speaks to our professionalism. So as long as it is in there some type of way, because I do think that when we say we commit to preserving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach, I think we really have to look at that, because sometimes our decisions aren't based upon that, because some of the things that we bring to the city is going to change the unique quality of life on the beach. If you look at the past before, we aren't what we see on Federal Highway anymore. We are not this antique capital of the South anymore. We have a lot of vacant buildings, a lot of things that need to be revitalized and maybe even redeveloped, but that's not going to necessarily preserve that unique quality. So we have to look at what we feel that what unique quality is, and I think that we have to serve and make our decisions based on that. Because if we look at the CRA area isn't going to look the same in 10 years. When you look at the type of developments that's coming there, we are not, with the type of developments that are coming there, we would not be preserving the unique quality of life in that, in Dania Beach. So I think we really need to have a discussion and figure out what that unique quality really means to us, because that should be the driving force of how we make our decisions.
Sure, James. This is one of the points that perhaps engaged the most conversation on the CRA team. Everyone had a stand on it. Everybody had some input on it. Part of the thing that was in as a part of our conversation. Um, is it actually the CRA's front end responsibility to preserve this? And basically, the 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 nature of the feel of the streets, the architecture and design, and the feel of the corridors being done is frankly primarily in the hands of planning as they create the land use plans and requirements associated with the architecture and so forth with the community. And so what we ended up with this, and our thought on this was that the CRA needs to support and observe what is created by the planning department. But we're not the front end responsibility for that because that is where the land use regulations protect the community.
Yeah, so I think our choice here is we have four choices. We can leave it exactly as it is, which I'm hearing no. We can modify it. We can totally just delete it, not to put anything in its place, or we can come up with a different bullet that we think better serves the community, given the concerns that were raised by the chair.
Let me ask you, instead of we commit to preserving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach, how about would it achieve what your thought is to we commit to preserving the high quality of life in Dania Beach?
I think we can go without it. I think it personally. I think we can go without it. I mean, because unless the CRA has certain guidelines to say we're going to cap at this or cap at that to look at the long-term effects of different things that we bring to the city. Even just Dania Point, just the development of Dania Point is going to change a lot around here. It's not going to stay the same. It's not one single development, but Dania Point, in retrospect, when you look like that induces other developments. It kind of changes the community. I'm not saying negatively or positively, but what I'm saying that it's not going to be the unique Dania Beach that once was, or quiet and quaint that people, we changed that when we did the rebranding because we said the same thing. We are no longer the antique capital of the South. We need to change certain things to speak about where we're going as a community. And unless we have those strict preservation guidelines, we don't really have I don't think the CRA really has a stake in preserving that. That's just my opinion.
I wish I had you in the room when we were discussing this internally.
Can I say something on this? Because I think we forget that the CRA consists of several different types of areas. I mean, you've got some residential, true, but we also, Dania Point is part of the CRA. US 1 is part of the CRA. So there's a mix going on here. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying preserving a unique quality of life within Dania Beach, because there are so many different aspects to the CRA that make it a very unique area. So I mean, I hate to take it out because I think.
Well, what would be your way that we are preserving it? I guess that's where I'm kind of confused. Like, what are our guidelines of preservation? We don't really have any. We are encouraging redevelopment. We're not saying that we're going to redevelop the antiques in a way to preserve them. Like, I think that antiques are going to end up going altogether. So I guess that's where I'm kind of coming from when I look at those things.
So your issue is with the word preserve or preserve?
Correct.
Okay.
I think unique is fine because even though if you're changing and you're not going to remain the same, you can still remain unique. Dania Point is going to be unique in the events and the programs that they're bringing. So it's not just because it's changing into a higher development that it can't be unique. So I like the word unique because I think it means that we set ourselves apart from any other city, and we set ourselves apart from any other, trying to be like everyone else. So if we want to take out the word preserve, or we're still going to be ensuring that we we set ourselves apart. So I still like the word unique in there.
So
What about improving the unique quality of life?
that's
good
good.
with that.
Yeah, I was going to say unique or improve. Improve is good, but I was going to say encouraging or continuing or something. But no, that's fine. I think improving is good.
Yeah, I just don't think we have a handle on being able to stop certain things or prevent certain things. It's part of evolution.
I think great points that you're making. The change that Michael just typed in, we commit to improving the unique quality of life in Dania Beach. Does that pretty much hit a comfort level with everybody here? Again, this becomes perhaps a precision of vocabulary to actually reach everybody's thought on this.
Yeah, and I think that the conversation has been very constructive, and I think we're improving what we came to the meeting with, and of course, all of this is somewhat subjective, but it has to reflect, as the folks who are responsible, who are elected in the community and are responsible for the community and oversee the CRA. It has to reflect where we're going, and I think that that was a good observation about the concern of promising to preserve the way that the community is, compared to the fact that you're a community that is growing and is you're becoming more you're changing, and so when I was looking at it originally, I was thinking, well, maybe we can't guarantee or to preserve what's been there, but maybe we should have some statement in terms of our values on trying to preserve or to commit to something that's positive for the community. And I think we've accomplished that with this statement. So thank you for that add. Thank you very much.
And actually, another dimension of this change, this actually makes this our statement of values to be a bit more timeless, because one thing we have to recognize is that, particularly in the case of our retail corridors and so forth, retail has to change constantly to meet the needs of people. So you don't really want to preserve the retail corridor the way it looked yesterday, because it may be boarded up tomorrow if you do. But describing this as committing to improving the unique quality of life, I think that fits and allows us to make changes that are adaptable to time. So I think that is a very good change in the wording.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm very thankful for the input. So what we have is, for our values, is we provide the best quality of service for our stakeholders. We conduct our business with the highest ethical standards. We commit to improving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach. Our activities will contribute to the positive image of Dania Beach. We embrace innovation and diversity. And the last one, we encourage sustainable solutions. So hopefully that mix sits well with everybody. I think I just lost somehow. I don't know what I did there. Let me click back over here.
Do you want to include, I know the chair mentioned something about economics. Do we want to include something about that in there? Like something to the effect of, and I'm not sure if you meant economics as in economic development, or if you meant as far as like the overall economics of like committing to sound financial recommendations or something like that.
Yeah, just improving the economy, making the CRA area sustainable, in that means. So, but if you said it's already covered in there, I don't have to add anything. It's up to you all.
Sorry for the screen. I'm just trying to get this sorted again. There we go.
I mean, I would be fine if we wanted to, just to include the fact that we're following we're making sound financial recommendations or improvements or something to that effect.
So let's do this here.
I like this piece of conversation. To me, I think it's important for both the CRA as well as our public that looks at what we're doing, I think that there needs to be a comfort level in the expertise and sound judgment that we bring to the table. And if that is if that's better accentuated by adding another bullet point to the value statement, I would be all for that. I think the credibility of our organization is vital to our future success.
Agreed. That's why I brought it up. And I don't know that, because a lot of times people see things happening and they don't necessarily understand the reason why we're doing it. And if we have that in there as part of one of the values that we have, then we can draw back to that.
So what are we going to be adding?
Something like we commit to using sound financial recommendations or following sound financial recommendations or something to that effect. I don't know.
Yeah. So Michael, we're talking about the value statements, adding an additional bullet point, and I'm thinking of this in terms of we commit to exercising sound economic judgment in our activities, or like that. They cover all the points. I think this point was initiated with Chair James and is being contributed here with Member Llewellyn. Does that kind of vocabulary and description fit what you're trying to put there?
Can I see it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me just I'm gonna lose your vision, but we're just gonna do it like that. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Nope.
I don't see anything.
Your screen.
You have to share your screen. I guess that's what I was trying to read along.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna unshare for a second. I apologize for this.
It's okay.
Get back on. A second here. I think what's happening is I have multiple screens, and it's that's what's causing the problem. So I'll just go back in.
There we go.
Okay. I'll pull this down.
I like your screensaver. Board Member Ottman, when are we going snorkeling? Or scuba diving, rather.
I don't know. We have to practice soon.
I just have that there so I can dream while I'm working.
I love snorkeling. We've been on, my wife and I have been on just numerous cruises, and we always do our shore excursions by taking the snorkeling trips.
Also, does that mean you're gonna do the scuba diving with us to go see the 1,000 mermaids?
I was gonna say, when our mermaids come up, you might have to get your gear on and come take a peek.
I'm not certified in terms of the scuba piece, but I have done it before anyway. So yes, I would very much like to do that. I want to be part of that experience.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, so we're talking about here adding an additional bullet point, something to the effect of we commit to using sound economic.
Yeah, so what I typed earlier, Michael, when the screen was not visible, was we commit to exercising sound economic judgment, is I think what you said.
You've already got it there.
Does that work? Yeah.
So,
okay?
in fact, board members, does that last bullet point kind of capture what you were thinking about on this subject?
For me, it does.
Yes, that's fine.
Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always amazed with what you guys come up with. I get the credit sometimes, but I'm always amazed with what you guys come up with. So this, I think, looks really good. If you don't mind, I'm just going to go back to the mission. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read the vision. I'm going to read this so that you can see the whole thing all together. Yeah. So the mission is to provide the expertise and strategic investments needed to implement inclusive strategies that enhance financial security, expand opportunities for business, stimulate private investment, foster revitalization, and improve the quality of life for our diverse community. So that's our mission. The vision: to be a sustainable city of the future with expanded economic opportunities for our stakeholders. And then our value statement: we provide the best quality service for our stakeholders. We conduct our business with the highest ethical standards. We commit to improving the unique quality of life within Dania Beach. Our activities will contribute to the positive image of Dania Beach. We embrace innovation and diversity. We encourage sustainable solutions. And finally, we commit to exercising sound economic judgment. And that's what we've come up with. Anybody have any additional comments or concerns? Is there anything we should take out? Is there anything we should add? Are we satisfied with this? Do we need to let it settle for a minute?
I'm good with it.
I'm okay with it too.
Fine with me.
Yeah,
Board
just
Member
fine?
Otten, are you
Just
okay with
okay?
it? Are you okay with it, Board Member Ottman? I can't see everyone at once.
Yeah, it's sufficient.
Okay. We can move on.
Okay.
This is the purpose of this workshop today.
Wow. Okay.
These three, what's described as three types of statements that basically describe our purpose for existing, it's basically the landmark that we use as a beacon to where we're going. That's the vision statement. And our values is how we kind of conduct ourselves as we move along our way. This was the purpose of this workshop, to get your input and make sure that we weren't leaving out, or we weren't misstating something that would cause you discomfort. And the end objective on this is that we actually end up with brand new statements that the CRA can basically live to and conduct themselves within. So you guys have been great. If you're okay with these three statements, the content of all three of these statements, then I would like to actually include the final work product of today onto the CRA meeting to basically formally introduce it to the public in our meeting. And whatever is the correct way of doing it, either by the city attorney's thought or whatever, basically to get a formal concurrence from you that you're okay with the CRA to start using these statements in its publications.
I'm okay with it. If anybody is not okay with it, I guess you can say something so he'll know. I think that means we're all good, Mr. Chen.
I tell you what, you've been great to work with this. Thank you so much for your participation. And again, I apologize for putting you all into a midday commitment in your busy schedules, but unfortunately, I didn't see that we got a lot of public attendance on this, which was the objective of this odd schedule. But you've been great to work with on this. Thank you.
You don't know who's on YouTube, who's watching it on YouTube, so you never know.
That's true.
Yeah, that was the point, trying to make sure we get as much expansion to the audience on this discussion as possible.
If I may, I just would also like to thank you for the opportunity to participate, and I'm really very pleased and more than just okay with what you guys came up with. I think it's an excellent process and an excellent mission, vision, and value statement. So thank you again for the opportunity to participate, and it was a pleasure meeting and speaking with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you need to share, Mr. Chen, before we adjourn?
This has really been a good experience. And again, I'm so glad you seemed to got into the excitement that our CRA staff did as we were doing this. So I hope you enjoyed yourself through the discussion.
Awesome. Any board member comments?
Not for me.
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Chen, you've done a great job. So thank you for working together to bring this comprehensive strategic plan or mission and values to our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you to everyone. And again, thank you for your tolerance of this odd schedule.
All right. Well, with that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.